Hi everyone, welcome to OddTalk with Stephen Tikkanen. Today I'm going to talk about how everyone's talking about going back to training after the COVID-19. So our gym's been shut for 9 weeks. It's probably going to be shut for another 2 or 3 weeks. So we're probably going to end up being shut for about 12 weeks. So lots of people have been telling lots of people about going back to the gym, take it easy, don't start too hard. I agree with all of that. But let's talk about why. Why is that the case? So behind me, I have a little table and I'll explain what's going on here. So let's have a look. So we have Hans Seeley's general adaptation syndrome up in this section here. It was basically brought about by looking at people and dealing with stress and how do you deal with stress. It's been adapted to resistance training. So here we can have a look. So as it says, general adaptation syndrome, otherwise known as GAS. And this is how periodization started. So this is basically the central theory behind periodization that most of us would use when we're writing a program. So let's have a look at the table itself. Over here we have performance. Along the bottom here we have time. And we have this curve here. So this starting point over here, this dotted line that you can see is your baseline. That's where you are right now. Your performance could be up there or down there or whatever. It's just an arbitrary starting position. It doesn't really matter. But let's just say we're all here at this starting position. So this is the beginning post-COVID-19 training. Most of us are going to go back and start doing our Olympic weightlifting type of training, and that's quite a novel thing to do. So we're going to have a decrease in performance. Even if we're super conservative, we're still going to have some type of decrease in our performance from our baseline because we're going to suffer DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness. So the first part of this little curve, the downward part of this curve, is known as shock and DOMS. So we struggle, we can't walk up a set of stairs anymore, we can't walk down a set of stairs anymore, and training is really hard, and we need to try to avoid that, but that's going to happen. The next part is counter shock. So now we're starting to build up, we're still sore, but we're able to do a little bit more now. And then eventually we can get back to our baseline. So that time period from there to there, right, I believe will be about 3 to 6 weeks, depending upon your training age, depending upon what you've been doing during the COVID-19 shutdowns. Your age will be a factor in this as well. So there's lots of different factors, and that's not what I'm talking about, but I believe it'll take about 3 to 6 weeks of intelligent training to get back to this baseline here. So this first phase here is called the alarm reaction phase. And that's what we're all going to go through. Everyone's going to go through the alarm reaction phase. We then come to the next phase called the resistance phase. And we can see here that we've now gone past our baseline. Our performance is now going up and we can hammer away as much as we want. Okay, we might get a little bit sore, but really it doesn't matter. We can recover, we keep training and so forth. If we drew a line halfway up, you'll see that the first half of the resistance phase, we make huge amounts of gains. The second half of the resistance phase, we make a small amount of gains. So we start to end up going to this point of diminished returns. And so as a coach, we've got to decide, do we start to change the program here? Like what time frame does that take? And is it worth going into the point of diminished returns? I believe it is important that we do. That's how we get that overload that we talk about. Anyway, once we get to the highest point that we can get with the threshold, we then go into the last phase here, which is the exhaustion phase. If we continue with the exhaustion phase, we're going to decrease our performance. There's no doubt about that. Worst case scenario, we get injured and our performance goes to 0. So it goes from this line right down to the base. 0 performance, okay? We can trundle along and keep it stay at a plateau. Okay, but we need to start changing. So do we change the program pre or post this point? How far down the point of diminished returns do we continue to go? That's a question that coaches have to ask themselves with their particular athletes. So just going back really quickly, the alarm reaction phase is what we're all going to go through. I think that's going to take most of us 3 to 6 weeks to get through that point, and then we'll be fine. We'll be able to hammer away and get back to what we were doing before. But this is what we have to be aware of. It's the basis of our periodisation. It's called the general adaptation syndrome, GAS. I know there's a few questions about this and its validity towards resistance training, but I still think it's got some valid points. Okay, so I hope that made some sense, and I'll see you next time. Please email me at coach@oddsocks.com.au and I'll answer any of your questions. See you next time. Bye.